Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2024 New York City Marathon race preview and pre-race tips. My name is Hillary Schmitt. I am a USAT Level 1 certified coach. I am a QT2 systems coach, as well as an athlete. I have done the Boston Marathon and the New York City Marathon a handful of times. I am a multiple 70.3 World Championship qualifier at South Africa, Nice, New Zealand a couple times, St. George and Chattanooga. I've also a Kona qualifier, as well as I've qualified for the world's major marathon. Tonight's presentation overview will be based on the QT2 Systems 5 Cornerstones, as well as the final weeks leading into the New York City Marathon. I guess we're about 13 days out. Pre-race and check-in logistics for the marathon, as well as the day before and race morning, kind of some tips and tricks. I'll give you a course preview of mile by mile, as well as some race day pacing and fueling tips. So to start off, we have the QT2 Systems 5 Cornerstones. We have training, that's kind of our day-to-day training, restoration and day-to-day nutrition, kind of how we recover after our training, as well as how we fuel our body day-to-day. We have race fueling, kind of what we use for products as we fuel our workouts, race pacing, and mental fitness. And we believe if you have these 5, that it will contribute to a fantastic race day come the marathon. So if we start with our first one, we have training. Kind of the last final weeks going into the marathon. Like I said, we're about 13 days out. We're in taper mode. As they say, you know, the hay is in the barn, the long runs are done. We want to really focus on these next 2 weeks and taper. You can do some small final key race-specific sessions to kind of simulate some race intensities. Kind of maybe, you know, New York is, you never know what you're going to get dealt with weather. If there's wind, maybe you're out in the wind, as well as I would recommend training on some hills, maybe in your last long run this weekend, and kind of put those towards the end, just as New York City has it. You know, you're going to enter the park at mile 25-ish and deal with some rolling hills right at the end. Train in the course if you can. You know, next week, if you decide that you're in the city leading up until the marathon, go get a feel for what Central Park is like. It's very rolling hills. You've got Cat Hill, you know, don't go out and race the course, but at least, you know, do a recovery run and just get an idea of what the hills will be like come those last couple miles of the marathon. Be prepared for any weather conditions. Last year, it was about 53 at the start, and the high was about 61. I am in Princeton, New Jersey right now, and we hit a high today of almost 80 degrees. So you need to mentally prepare. I would say, you know, you don't know what you're going to be dealt in the next 2 weeks. I think racing last year, Boston with an athlete, no one anticipated how hot it got. And there are a lot of people in the medical tent at the end because no one was prepared for the heat. So 2 weeks out, you know, we might get heat. And that just, you know, we take some extra salt, we take some extra hydration, especially these 2 weeks leading up to the marathon. Do a dress rehearsal run, test out your gear and nutrition. So for my guys leading into the marathon, they know that this long run coming up this week, they're going to test out what they're going to eat the night before the race. I'm sorry, exactly, the night before the race. So if they're going to have pizza and pasta, they're going to prep with that this weekend. They are going to eat exactly what they're going to eat the night before the marathon. And then for their last long run, whether it be 10 to 13 miles this week, they're going to practice their race fueling nutrition. My guys know that every long run, that's one thing that we have complete control over. So they have tested out, they know they take a gel 15 minutes before the start of their run, and then they know they take a gel every 20 to 30 minutes, depending on what their race fueling is for their long run. So again, do that dress rehearsal. If you're going to hold a bottle, you're going to wear a belt, try all that out this week. So then there's no surprises come the marathon next week. Again, final weeks, again, our training cornerstone, train your race targets, you know, whether you're going to train with heart rate, RPE, pace, or power, just, you know, make sure you know what you're going in with and train those targets. in the final weeks, there's no fitness gains, guys, anymore. You know, I would focus on frequency and feel. You want to do a couple short 2 or 3 minutes or half-mile repeats at race pace just to kind of get the feel again, totally fine. Do not overtrain, do not panic train. Again, you're not going to make any gains in these next 13 days. Err on the side of recovery. It's better to go in a little bit, you know, undertrained so your legs feel good. Again, be rested, be sharp going into it, and include days off. My guys next week will have Tuesday off and either Friday or Saturday off. So they're going to have, you know, 2 days off and then 1 or 2 recovery days, and then they're going to be good to go. Final weeks, as we hit upon nutrition and restoration, our second cornerstone, you want to really, especially if it's warm, like I said, it was almost 80 today, make sure you're taking a lot of fluid in these next 2 weeks. We recommend drinking at least half of your body weight in addition to whatever's lost during the workouts. So if you go out on this coming long run and you lose a lot, make sure you replenish that with a ton of hydration. And you know, as if you become more than 2% dehydrated, it will affect your performance come the marathon. So again, I can't stress it enough, especially next Friday and Saturday before the race, make sure you're taking a ton of hydration. You want to continue to eat nutrient-dense food. We recommend aiming for 4 daily servings of fruits and vegetables. Again, that replenishment meal a day prior to the long run, like I just mentioned. So whatever you're going to eat the night before the marathon, usually it's pasta, rice, pizza, practice that this week. Make sleep a priority, at least 7.5 to 8 hours per night. I know it's hard. I have 2 children, but I do I aim to get at least 8 hours of sleep at night. I believe sleep is medicine. You wake up in a better mental mindset, your body feels good, and that's when you recover the most. Take an anti-inflammatory measures. We recommend omega. Taper down on caffeine. Target less than 800 milligrams per week. So, you know, if you're used to taking in 2 cups of coffee, 3 cups of coffee a day, you know, maybe taper it back to 1 cup each day this week. I would recommend if you can cut it out Saturday before the race, that would probably be beneficial because then when you decide to take a caffeinated gel in the marathon, you're going to feel the effects much greater. Again, don't forget to drink your recovery drink after workouts, you know, to replenish the carbohydrates and glycogen stores, again, as well as protein to recover the muscles. We recommend clean recovery at QT2 Systems, but you could also do something as simple as chocolate milk. You've got the sugar and you've got the protein to replenish. Again, still nutrition and restoration. You want to eat a relatively normal diet during race week. So this week, next week, nothing crazy. If hot, like I said, add the extra salt to the meals. I would recommend probably Friday and Saturday to add that extra salt if it is going to be warm. Again, hydration is going to be the key focus here. Drink plenty of fluids. We recommend sports drink or water for 3 days leading up to the race, in addition, again, to what is lost during the workouts. So I can't stress enough, like you don't want to go into New York, especially if it's warm, being underhydrated. Like you want to make sure, like, you know, monitor when you go to the bathroom, make sure that your urine is pale. You don't want a bright yellow. You know, you don't want to be dehydrated. Again, as I said, 2% dehydration, it's going to affect your performance. Again, continue next week, taper down on caffeine. And then we recommend a fat load meal 5 days prior. So for New York, that would be Tuesday. We would recommend something simple as a turkey burger and sweet potato fries. It is known that if you load with a fat load meal 5 days prior, you're more likely to be able to absorb carbohydrates at a better rate come race day. Carb load 2 nights before. Again, we said Friday and Saturday with that pasta, pizza, or rice. And the breakfast the day before. We recommend a big pancake breakfast. Continue to make sleep a priority, the 8 hours per night. You know, you're not going to probably sleep much more the night before the marathon. So do the best you can in these next, 11 to 12 days to get as much sleep as you can. And, you know, New York's a party. It's got a ton of energy. It's a great time, but leading up into the marathon next week, try to stay off your feet as much as possible. Get into the expo, get out. Final weeks in regards to our fueling cornerstone. Again, for that long run coming up, fuel in accordance with your plan during every session. So like I said, my guys know that they take a gel on the 20-25 minutes. Practice that this week. The course is going to give out SIS gels. It's going to be at mile 12 and 18. I just picked up a couple recently in the last month. They're very easy on the stomach. There's just not a lot of salt in them. Again, we do this to train your gut so there's no mistakes come race day. As I mentioned, use a recovery drink after your sessions. We recommend Clean Recovery. Train with the gel that you're going to use on the course. So, we all say don't use anything new come race day. If you're used to training with Never Second gels or goo, stick with that. If you get in a panic, pick up an SIS. Again, very easy on the stomach. I don't think you'll have a problem with it, but train with what you're used to. Gatorade Endurance will be on the course. And on race day, fueling may be the most important and the most likely limiter on performance, and one we have complete control over. So as I mentioned, take this next coming long run and practice exactly what you're going to fuel with, because that's something we have complete control over. We don't have control of the weather, etc. Final weeks, the last cornerstone is mental fitness. Try to reduce any external pressures as the best you can. Focus on what you have complete control over, your attitude and your fueling. Trust your preparation. If you get into that dark spot here and there, you get nervous, remember all those key sessions you did, all those long runs that you have under your belt. Remember that. Begin to visualize, what does a great performance look like? How will you respond if something goes differently? I know I have my guys, I make them come up with some mantras going into the race. Like if they do get in a dark spot, what will they have that they can go to? Some is believe, stay strong, be strong. So come up with a couple mantras that if you do get in that dark spot, something that will pull you out of it. List your goals and your targets. Goals are 100% what we have control over. Targets are more numbers based. And internalize those race specific workout feels. Like I said, you know what it feels like. You know what that pace feels like. Internalize that. And again, enjoy the feeling that you can do this and be grateful. Not everybody gets to run the New York City Marathon. And I think if you do that quick shift in mindset that I get to do this, versus like, oh no, I got to go run a marathon, have appreciation for the sport and, be grateful that you can do this. Okay, some pre-race logistics. Review the race details. New York Roadrunners has a race day runners PDF out there. It's right on the website. I would probably review it this week and next week as they continue to probably make some updates. You'll have your race number. It gives the bags indication, the staging area, and start times. It is all in that PDF file. Hopefully by now you have selected your transportation to the start of the race. That can be as a ferry, or you can take the Midtown bus, have someone drop you off. If you have not yet, again, log into your dashboard and select your slot to pick up your packet in the expo. You have to pick up your own bib number. Make your list if you're out of town or just to make sure you don't forget anything. Purchase any needed items. So if you end up going to the expo and you forgot your belt or you want an extra hydration bottle, pick it up there. Charge and replace batteries and pack. And then I would, just make sure you've confirmed all your reservations. Race check-in logistics. All right, so the expo is at the Javits Center. It is all the way over on the 11th Ave on West 36th Street. It is going to be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 10 to 8. And make sure you pick up your bib by 7:30. Do not get at the expo at 7:30. They will not allow you to pick up your bib. So make sure that you get there a half an hour before it closes, just to ensure you get it. So if the flight gets delayed and you don't get there till Saturday, just make sure you pick it up by 4:30. There is no race day pickup. You must pick a time slot. Like I mentioned, log in to the dashboard and pick up when you're going to pick it up. Bring your packet pickup email and your photo ID. The expo is amazing. Get there, but limit your time there on your feet. There are a ton of vendors. There's a ton of things that you can try out. Just go in, enjoy it, but don't spend hours upon hours there because you want to just stay off your feet as much as possible. Again, I recommend, select your time to pick up your bib, and you must pick up your own packet in person. Day before, my guys will have a short shakeout run, and then they know they have to kind of watch a movie and chill out. Some people do it on Fridays, some people do it on Saturdays, just very easy. That's where I recommended before to go into the park and kind of get a feel for those rolling hills. Super, super easy, but just kind of so you can get aware of what they're like. We recommend a big breakfast, 90 to 100 grams of carbs in the morning, such as pancakes, toast, home fries. You want to limit your fat, fiber, and protein. There are a ton of great diners in the city. Your home have just a ton of carbs. I love my salads. I love my vegetables. I have them every day, but this is not the time to have them. You really just want to focus on carbs, pretzels, pasta, pizza, etc. And again, hydrate. If it is going to be warm, make sure to have the extra salt. Avoid the caffeine if you can. And then again, keep your feet out. You want to set out your gear for race morning, what you're going to be wearing, your race top, race bottoms, shoes, socks, if you wear a hat, sunscreen. Make sure you have your fuel. If you're going to have a belt, make sure your watch is charged. And then, if you have any throwaway clothes, make sure you have those as well. If you want to pre-check a bag, you're only allowed to do that in Central Park on Friday and Saturday. So if you want to have, after race clothing, something warm, extra fuel, etc., just make sure you drop it off Friday or Saturday, because you will not be able to check a bag at the start of the race. Day before final checks. Again, confirm race morning logistics, finalize your plan. Confirm how you're getting there. Are you getting on the 5 a.m. ferry? Are you getting on the 5:30 Midtown bus? Where is that? Just make sure that you've confirmed that. Again, you can just find out that if you log into the New York Roadrunners. Try to get as much rest as possible. Again, watch a movie, stay off your feet, have fun in the city afterwards. Set an alarm or multiple ones and try to go to sleep early. And if you can't go to sleep, because your mind's racing, at least just stay off your feet. Again, set out your gear, make sure you have everything laid out the night before or the day before. And if you miss something, you can easily pick it up in the city. Race morning nutrition. I would recommend bringing your breakfast to the start since it's such a late start, depending on what wave you go off. Simple carbohydrates, fluid, electrolytes, small amount of protein, depending on your start time. Like I just mentioned, bring your breakfast to the start. No fat or fiber or extra vitamins that morning. The core diet and QT2 systems, we recommend having applesauce, a banana, 1 scoop a whey, protein, sports drink like Gatorade or Never Second, and complete eating your breakfast 3 hours prior to the race start. Sip on sports drink until the race start, and then I would recommend taking a gel 15 to 20 minutes prior to the race start. If you get hungry, I would even bring some extra nutrition for the village, besides your breakfast, because it is such a late start. And if you have breakfast and you still get hungry, take that extra banana or extra gel, sports drink, etc. Race morning logistics. The starting areas are going to be at the Ford Wadsworth in Staten Island. The marathon will begin on the bridge. It is a little uphill. I'll show you an elevation profile in a minute. I didn't really feel, I've done New York a bunch of times. You don't really feel the bridge because there's so many people there. So do not freak out about that first mile. Security check. You must have your bib number visible. I think before, I remember back when last year or the year before when I did it, you had to show your bib before you even got on the bus or before you got on the ferry. So make sure your bib number's on before you even get on the transportation. Your bib color will determine when you get to the village, where to go. There's pink, orange, and blue. Again, this is what they have listed right now. Just go back and, like I said, find that PDF file and just make sure that everything stays the same. All bags will be screened. You must use the clear plastic bag that they give you at the expo. So again, like I mentioned, if you have a gear bag, you're going to have to drop that off Friday and Saturday. They're only going to let you use race morning that clear plastic bag. No personal bags, no hydration packs. You can have your fuel belts or handhelds. That's totally fine. Again, refer to that PDF for more details. And again, when you get to the village, I remember just taking having a pair of old sweatpants and just camping out, or an old winter coat, and just staying off my feet. I literally just found my corral and where I needed to be, and I just sat down. So conserve as much as you can. Race morning, the start. So, this is a little bit hard to see, but when you get dropped off, as I mentioned, you're going to have your orange corral, your pink corral, and your blue. And it is going to be specified on your bib. So you will know exactly where you are. You'll have your wave here and then the color. So when you get off the bus, if you're not exactly sure, there are going to be a ton of volunteers there that will tell you where your color is. So you find your color, and then you just go in there, you camp out there, and then they will call you your waves and when you're supposed to go off. So basically pay attention to your bib, and then when you get there, follow the signs for the color. A little bit of a timeline. Again, so if you're on that 5:30 bus, you might get there by 8 o'clock, and you might not even go off until 10:20 or 9:45. So again, bring your breakfast to the start, bring some extra fuel. Wave 1 will go off at 9:10, then 9:45, 10:20. And if you are in the last wave, that's 11:30. And I think that's what happened at Boston this year. I think that, I got really hot and people didn't recognize that. So if you are in that last wave, just make sure you bring extra hydration. I mean, I would say it for, all the waves. Race day, a little bit of a course preview now. So this is going to be the course elevation here. Over here is kind of brings you through. You start in Staten Island, you go over the bridge, you're into Brooklyn, then you go through Queens, the Bronx, and then you head to Central Park right at the end. Last year, there were about 51,000 athletes that finished. The finishing time was about 4 hours and 39 minutes. The weather, like I mentioned, was pretty much perfect, 54 degrees, a little bit of humidity, but the winds were nothing, only 5 miles per hour. You're going to be running next to people almost the entire way, especially on the bridge. Don't get frustrated. Don't try to weave in and out of people on that bridge, because it's very slow going up, but then you will find your way on the downhill. I think, if I remember right, I started out at maybe a 7:30 on the way up, and I think I was just sub 6 on the way down. I mean, it just pans out and you'll be able to. However, throughout the race, you will be running with people the entire time. Aid stations, they could be crowded. Be patient. Maybe not take the first Gatorade or water, kind of go to the next one, but just be aware of everybody around you. Race course details. This is not a flat course, approximately 33 feet in elevation. The bridges can be super windy. Be prepared and run the tangents. So if it is windy and there's a headwind, I would recommend finding someone similar to your pace and run directly behind them. Don't be right up on their feet, but make them block the elements. So if you're into a headwind, make them block it and you stick right behind them, even if they're running a little bit faster, so you can conserve energy. And then obviously be aware of the tangents. I did my best I could, and I think I still ran 27 miles. So be aware of that. Try to stay in the moment, every moment. I always say, stay in the mile you're in. Are you fueling? Am I running the tangent? If it's a win, am I behind someone? So a little bit of the course details. The course is going to take you, as I mentioned, through the 5 boroughs of New York City. You have Staten Island, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and Manhattan. Miles 1 and 2, again, like I mentioned, you're on the Verrazano Bridge. The first 1.8, as you can see in the elevation, you're climbing. You're not going to really feel it because there's so many people around you. It is going to be the longest climb of the race. And then it's downhill off the bridge and into Brooklyn. That downhill is free speed. Take it and go. Don't get frustrated if you plan to go out at an 8:30 pace and you're at a 9-minute pace on the hill. You will have plenty of time to make up for it. Like I said, be patient. It's very slow going up, but as I mentioned, it can be very, very fast going down. Do not waste your energy trying to weave in and out of people, especially on that first mile, because everybody's going to try to weave in and out. Just stay in a path, stay in a lane, and you'll make it up on the miles going forward. Miles 3 through 12, you're in Brooklyn, and then you go into Queens. It's mostly flat through here. There are a couple winding roads. Again, watch your tangents. Some downhills. If you have the downhills, just go. Like, pick it up. If your race pace is 8:30, pick it up to 8:10. That's free speed. Take it and go. Some of the roads can be narrow at times, so just be aware of everybody around you. There are spectators along the course the entire time. It's like a party, but do not get so caught up at mile 5 with how deep the crowds are, because you still have a long way to go, and I want you to conserve your energy. Have patience as these miles are relatively flat. Conserve your energy, because the hardest part is right at the end in Central Park. Follow your pacing plan and try, again, not to get too caught up into the crowds. Miles 13 and 15. So these are going to be your bridges. When you're going uphill, I always recommend chest up, eyes up. You want to keep their airway open. Queensboro Bridge is very quiet. You're just going to hear the pitty patter of the footsteps. Be aware of your footing on the bridge. So I remember it was a little bit sometimes hard to see, so just be aware of it. They can be tough. Again, keep that chest and your eyes up the entire time. Once you get off the Queensboro Bridge, you're onto First Ave, and the crowds here are huge. They're extremely deep. It's very, very loud. As you're coming off the bridge, you can hear them. Do not get too caught up in all of them. I mean, don't pick your pace up an extra minute. Like, still settle in, because you still, after you come that, you still have 10 miles to go. Once you descend, again, you're going to be onto First Ave. Again, don't get caught up too much in the crowds. And be aware, when you think about your fueling plan, make sure that you're taking gels in to fuel these hills. So knowing that, before mile 13 or mile 15, make sure you've got a good, gel going into you to make sure that you're giving that energy to get up the hills. Miles 19 and 20, you're in the Bronx. Again, I would recommend fueling again for the hills. When I did the New York City Marathon, I had planned to take a gel about every 30 minutes. But once I got to the 2-hour mark, I took a gel every 20 minutes. And I actually had one of my fastest miles at the park at the end. And I remember a lot of people saying to me, how did you run so fast at the end? And I really think it was because those last 6 miles or so, I was taking a gel every 20 minutes, and it just fueled me to keep going and going. Again, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That last 10K, it's hard because you're hitting the hills, but you got huge crowd support. So biggest recommendation, keep fueling. Like, if you can take a gel every 20 minutes, take it. I also said that they gave out those SAS gels at mile 18. If you feel like you don't need one, take one. Because if you feel at mile 22, oh, I don't know how I can do an extra 4 miles, take a gel. And you might have that extra one that you did pick up. You're going to run up Fifth Ave. Miles 24 are rolling hills. Again, chest up, eyes up. That's where I recommended when you get into the city next week, if you can go see what those rolling hills feel like, go and check it out. Be careful the last section, as there's quite a few rolling hills, which can be challenging this late in the race. Again, the biggest recommendation I can give you guys is just, once you get to, that 20 miles, see if you can just keep popping fuel in, because it will definitely fuel you with those rolling hills. As the body gets tired, you're going to start, the form might, decrease a little bit. Try your best to keep your eyes and chest up and shorten your stride a little bit on the hills. Race day fueling, again, as I mentioned, Science and Sports Energy Gel, they'll be available at 12 and 18. Again, if you don't feel like you need them right then, just take one, and because you might need one at mile 20, and I'd rather you guys have an extra fuel right at the end when you need it, especially going up those hills. Each gel has approximately 22 grams of carbohydrates. They are very low in sodium. There's only 10 milligrams of sodium. So as I mentioned before, if it is warm, you need to think about how you're going to get your sodium, and that can be salt tabs or, salt licks, a bottle of, precision hydration that has extra sodium. Just be aware of the sodium if it is hot. The gels have approximately 90 calories. There are going to be caffeinated flavors, which are the citrus and berry, and those are 75 milligrams of caffeine. So just be aware of that. That's a lot of caffeine. If you're not used to taking that much, I would recommend getting one that does not have caffeine and then take one that does have caffeine, and maybe you just take half of it and then save the other half for later if you feel like you need it. But if you haven't trained with 75 milligrams of caffeine, I would recommend do not take the full dose right away. Race day aid stations. There is going to be Gatorade Endurance, lemon lime, almost at every mile, starting at mile 3 up until 25, except those couple miles. There is also going to be water available at every mile from 3 to 25, except for 5, 7, and 9. If it is warm, I would recommend taking water, 1 water cup, and dumping it over your head to keep your core body temperature down. And then I would take, if you can, stomach the Gatorade Endurance, get those electrolytes in. So just to repeat, you take the water to cool your core temperature down over your head, or they have ice, put your ice in your hat, etc. And then take the Gatorade because you're going to need the electrolytes. Again, as mentioned, there's science and sports at 12 and 18. Just be aware of that caffeinated gel. And then bananas are going to be available at mile 21 and 23. Race day. There are going to be clocks and markers. There's timing checkpoints. Timing mats are going to be located at the 5K, 13.1, mile 20, and then at the finish. Mile markers are posted every mile. There is an app if your friends and family want to track you. The course limit will be 6 hours and 30 minutes. And there will be medical tents set up all along the course, starting at mile 3. Race day pacing. I kind of mentioned this previously. Have a plan, going into the race. Start to think about that now. Like, what is my race pacing plan? What is my fueling plan? Try to nail that down this week on that long run. If you're going to train by pace, if you're going to go by heart rate, rated perceived exertion, or power. Are you going to negative split it or evenly split it? Start to think about those things this week. There will be pace groups available at the New York City Marathon, starting between the finishing times of 3 hours and 6 hours. So the thing I do like the pace groups, the thing with the pace groups in New York City, they are going to be crowded. So be aware of that. If you want to run a 4-hour marathon and there's hundreds of people there, you can stay a little bit above them, running, a little bit faster than them, or just tail off just a little bit, behind them. If you want them to kind of just keep you on that target pace, especially in the beginning, so you don't go out too fast. But just be aware that they're going to be extremely crowded. And don't get frustrated if you're right not next to the pacer. The other thing is they can be really hot. If it is a hot race and you have all those bodies next to you, just keep them in your eye, keep them in your distance, but don't be like right in top of the crowd, just to give you some air. Race day tips. Again, big race, ton of fun. It's like a party, but give yourself some time and be patient. It will take, the final runner doesn't cross until 25 minutes. Be prepared again to run with people every step of the way, depending on where you are in the race. Use that to your advantage in draft. Stay out of a headwind. Again, as I mentioned, if it is windy, it can be windy on the bridges. It can be windy in Central Park. Stick behind that person that's running a little bit faster than you and let them block all the elements. If it's raining, I remember one year at Boston, it was extremely cold, very rainy, very windy. I just found the biggest person I could that was running about my pace and stuck kind of right behind him and made him block all the elements. If it is cold, you still want to fuel. Like if you think that you don't need the hydration, still take it in. You might not feel that you need it because the weather's, say we start in the 40s, still take it in. Remember, everything that you hydrate on those aid station is going to keep prepping you for the next mile and the next mile, and especially for Central Park. The aid stations, they're going to be crowded. So don't get frustrated if you can't get the first water, the Gatorade of cups, just go to the next one, go, to the next line. Again, like I said, pick up that extra gel at 12 or 18 just to have at Central Park if you need it. They're going to be located on both sides of the road. So again, don't waste energy if you don't need to. Again, I've kind of repeated this. Do not waste energy trying to weave in and out of people. Find a lane that you can just run comfortably in, especially on the bridge, and just stay in that lane. Again, run the tangents, don't run 27 miles. Race day mental fitness. Focus on your goals as your number one priority. Items you have complete control over, your attitude and fueling plan. We control our attitude, we can control our fueling plan, but we can't control the weather. Don't freak out about it. Like if it's not going to be the best day of weather, just keep up with a good attitude. You're all going to be dealt the same elements. Then focus on your targets. Again, we talked about this. What's your pace, your heart rate, your power? Stick to your plan, including how you will react when something doesn't go according to your plan. And I think that's where I mentioned before about mental fitness. Start this week, start to list out some mantras or some key words that if you do get in that dark spot or it doesn't go exactly how you want it, find a couple words that will bring you out of that. Again, outcomes should be left at the final 10K, if at all, which would be like what you want to place or what your time or your BKU, etc. Race your race. This is your journey. You've worked hard for this. Like I always say, race day is the fun day. It's the reward for all that hard work and all those long runs that you guys have done. And New York, I said, is like a party. Like have fun, be grateful that you get to do this. Show appreciation for the volunteers, family and friends. Thank everybody when you get the gel or when you get the Gatorade or water. I mean, these guys are out there. There's thousands of volunteers out there to make sure that you guys have a successful race day. And again, remember that we get to do this, be grateful, and I think that's probably one of my key mantras, that if I do get in a dark space, like I get to do this, like I get to run the New York City Marathon, which is pretty damn cool. Post-race, have a plan. I guess that's my biggest takeaway here. If you are going to meet up with family and friends, I would recommend, because the family reunion area can be very, very crowded, I would recommend meeting them on like, say, West 76th Street in Amsterdam. Like find something a little bit out of the family reunion just because it's so crowded. You will finish the race. You will get your medal, a heat sheet, and some extra fuel. Start recovering as soon as you cross. Get some protein into you, get some hydration into you. Start your recovery right away. If you checked a gear bag, remember I mentioned before on Friday or Saturday in Central Park, if you checked a bag, you will pick that up there as well. There will be a family place that you can meet up with your family. It's usually listed by last name, by a letter. So you can do that, or like I recommend maybe getting away from that and just, New York is very easy around that area to meet up with someone. The family reunion will be located on Central Park West between 63rd and 66th. And again, the letter will correspond to the first letter of your last name. And again, if you pick up that PDF file, you'll be able to see a little bit more details in this. Just make sure you have a plan with your family and friends. Questions. So my email's here. That is my phone number. I am more than happy to get any text message, email, etc. I know I've done this for a couple years now, and I usually have about 5 to 10 people that reach out and ask questions. I'm more than happy to help anyone out. If I don't know the answer, I will do anything in my power to make sure that you guys have a successful race. But other than that, I wish you all the best of luck.